We are live, we are live, we are live. Welcome back to Talk Talk Live. Thank you very much for joining me tonight on a Thursday night. Yes, we are ending I don't know if it's ending the week. Probably end of the week. Anyways, but thank you very much for joining me on Talk Talk Live, sponsored by Duntalk, DUNTALK.com. Like, subscribe, comment. We are on the road to 1,000 subscribers. Yes, indeed. I hope you had a great week. Yes, the start of November, a little bit colder, as we say. And again, I wouldn't say, would it be the start of the, well, yeah, I guess they start releasing the Christmas commercials and Christmas shopping begins in earnest as of this week. I know for the Americans, they usually start during Black Friday. But again, some people want to get an early jump on things. So again, thank you very much for joining me on Talk Talk Live on IG and YouTube. Like, subscribe, comment. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. Yes, indeed. We had a very fiery show yesterday with regards to Joe Smith and Keisha Chavis, a.k.a. Champagne Penn Davis, and their marriage and union, and how indeed their marriage is actually cratering right now because a woman didn't have her needs met, and so she couldn't live within her own means. So therefore, she decided to go it again through OF, as they say. So I wish Joe Smith all the best. He seems to be estranged from his former wife right now because she has decided to ruin his reputation for profit. And yeah, that's all that can be said there. We'll keep things going, keep tabs on that as we go along and further develop. But thank you very much for joining me on Talk Talk Live. We are back. We are live here on IG and YouTube. But we're going to get away from intersectional dynamics right now. We're going to get into some... I'll sip a little bit of water. We're going to get into some economics. Or should I say some, dollars and cents, into some, balance sheets, into the corporate world, as they say. And we are in the final quarter of 2023. And people are indeed, finishing up their year, and it's a rush to the end, and a lot of people are, trying to get their bottom lines together. And a few companies that have don't have their bottom lines together, quite simply, are those companies that indeed push for, how should I say, woke sort of agendas, woke sort of campaigns, try to be all inclusive, as they say. Now, to some, again, including myself, I happen to be from the Black diaspora as a Canadian, and again, to a certain extent, it's good to see certain representation there. But when you lean in too far, when you lean in a little too far with regards to the woke agenda, things, balance sheets can get sullied. You start losing and hemorrhaging money, especially during this time when people are tightening up their waist belts. In the business world, and they realize the bottom line is very, very important at this time, because we're not in a thriving economy. We're not in a boom economy. We are in a we are cratering towards a recession, and a lot of decisions have had to be made. So a lot of the, how should I say, the excesses of the last few years, where people started taking chances on certain ideas which were considered all-inclusive or woke, are starting to see the bottom line, and they're starting to go broke. So we're going to analyze today a few of these. I'll just move the microphone near me right here. We're gonna analyze these ideas and how right now, especially during these more incendiary times in the economy, how the woke agenda is starting to go broke, starting to literally go broke, and starting to lose a lot of money for companies who push for it, and those companies are starting to make changes now. So let's get into it. Thank you very much for joining me on Talk Talk Live. Like, subscribe, comment. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. Let me take a drink of this. Let me get into this. So let's start right away. So we can just put it on our browser. There we go, and we will start first with the smaller YouTube channel, Doug MPA, And thank you very much to Doug MPA. Like and subscribe to Doug MPA. And he's going to talk first about one of these companies that decided to go woke, or should I say, push for a more body inclusive, body positive agenda, which was Old Navy. Now, again, body positivity is not a male movement. It is not for the masculine gender. It is for the feminine gender, quite simply, because, again, body positivity does not ask for all bodies in all sizes of men. It asks for all bodies in all sizes in women, so that they can consider themselves all-inclusive too. Well, as I say, go after a certain type of guy, because all these ladies you see it before you here. Let me blow it up here for a little bit for you to agree. And we've shown this on Talk Live. All these ladies here are going for the same man. And they are not, as they say, fat. They are not fat. They are all not going for a fat dude. They're all going for a gentleman who tends to be Chad Tyrone, or, again, either a Chad or Tyrone, or a rich gentleman. And again, so with all these ladies going for one particular man, some people are going to get left out. And for these ladies to cater to a certain type of role, a certain type of, well, all types of body shapes, it turned out that it turned out to backfire on Old Navy, which are owned by the Gap company, by Gap Inc. As you saw, the Gap Kids, and Old Navy are all of their brands. And it seems that it was onto winning form in 2021 till things started taking a turn for the worse. And the fact that, a lot of these campaigns were not well supported, unfortunately. Now, I would ask you, if you want to leave it down in the comments, if you actually supported this campaign, if you actually went into an Old Navy as a lady and purchased some of these products and really pushed for these ideas. Because, again, this has been running for the last 2 years, and quite simply, it wasn't exactly a ratings monster. It wasn't exactly well subscribed. And it was losing money. So they had to change their ways. But let's get into it now. Thank you very much for joining me, Talk Live. Here we go. Thank you, Young NDA, Fair Use, is it Young? Is it Doug MPA? I think it's Doug MPA. Yes, Doug MPA. Thank you very much for joining me. Fair Use, Fair Use, Fair Use. Let's get into this.
Doug MPA back with another video. This video is going to be about body positivity. You know that thing that it's only for women? You don't ever see men in body positivity campaigns? And I'm just going to say, body positivity is a way for larger women to try to compete with thinner women without having to do any work. That's what it is. And also, they're trying to get men to be attracted to...
Ain't that the truth? Let it continue.
Bigger women in mass on the sexual marketplace, and it's just never going to happen. It's just not. No. It's not. No. And not the powerful men. The rich and powerful men are never going to go for a woman who's a size 25. It's just not going to happen.
Never. So, I've said that right here.
Old Navy to scale back inclusive sizing in stores less than a year after launch. We're going to get into this article real quick. But before I do, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate it. It shows you support me and what I'm doing over here. And let's see what happened with Old Navy's body positivity campaign. It says, on its May 26th earning call, Gap Inc. announced its decision to scale back the groundbreaking accessibility of inclusive sizes launched by its Old Navy brand in August of 2021. It owed the move to a decrease in demand for larger sizes. Old Navy will continue to carry sizes 0 to 30 and XS to 4X online, but dozens of stores will soon phase out the inclusive collection. 0 to 30? Who wears a size 30? What? Wow.
Wow, indeed. Hold on just a second. I'll show you who wears 0 to 30. Let's have a look at the stats here. I've always keep the stats nearby, as is shown here on blackdemographics.com. Demographics for and created by black people for black people, and for the population at large. So let's just go towards health and obesity. And what you'll see is, as you saw by that ad campaign, there were a whole lot of black women involved. Why? I'll tell you why. Because black women tend to be the biggest ladies in North America. 55% of black ladies are obese. Followed by Hispanic 51%, white 38%, and Asian 15%. So you don't see a lot of Asians in this ad campaign, do you? No, you don't, because they tend not. Let me just take it back here. It was at 120, yes. Take it back here for a second. You tend not to see a lot of Asians in this picture, now do you? You tend to see a lot of black people. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You tend to see a lot of white people and a few Hispanic ladies. Because why? Because they've seen the stats. You don't need to put an Asian lady in there because they tend not to be fat. So those are their target markets, as you saw by blackdemographics.com. So let us get back into it. I am sorry, Doug MPA. Please take it away.
The stores will soon phase out the inclusive collection. 0 to 30? Who wears a size 30? What?
Black, white, and Hispanic people do.
The 2021 initiative dubbed Bod Equality. You see what they did there? Mm-hmm. Combined Old Navy's separate plus line with its core product offering the same styles at the same prices across its size range. Such an overhaul touched every part of Old Navy's business. Ashley Partridge Stickney, Old Navy Global VP for Women's Merchandise, said at the launch when speaking to Glossy in 2021. She called the need for the initiative urgent because, prior, plus-size women had felt excluded from shopping at Old Navy. Before Bod Equality, the brand sold plus-size clothing online only for more than a decade.
Remember now what I said about the different campaigns. I did say to you about body positivity, body neutrality, and I believe it was body neutrality, body positivity, and fat acceptance. Those are the 3 major roles. It's just that they had a little play on this, Old Navy, or should I say gapping, and called it body quality. So that was their twist on the whole body positivity movement ideal. But let's continue.
On May 26th, Gap Inc. released on its website an updated frequently asked questions page to explain the changes to body equality shoppers. For example, the first question reads, "So body equality is still a thing, right?" And the provided answer, Gap Inc. confirmed that the program is alive and well and claims that customers' demand and supply chain challenges are to blame for the pullback of its IRL availability. And that's what it is. So I remember I saw some posts on social media where people would go into, girls would go into Old Navy stores that wore regular sizes and were like, there's extra small and there's a size 20, but where are the size 10s? Where are the size 8s? And where are the size 12s? Because they had a limited stock of the stuff that everyone buys to be able to include the size 30 and the size 25s. And it's costing them sales. There just aren't enough people to put a size 30 in every single store. I'm sorry, it's not. Or a size extra small. No. It's specific.
He's right. And he's absolutely correct in that you don't have obese ladies walking around every day. No, you'll have overweight ladies, yes. As he said, the 8, 10, and size 12 ladies. But you won't have a size 30. You definitely won't have a size 30. And I've been to one of these Old Navy stores. I never did buy anything really. But, yeah, they would have this whole section unto itself where you had these massive size clothes for massive size ladies, especially in certain markets where a lot of these body positive / fat acceptance ladies would exist. They don't really exist. It's speaking to a very, very small minority of the population. Now, if they're in certain United States markets, certain where African Americans and Hispanics tend to thrive, say in Los Angeles, say in Atlanta, say in to a certain extent New York. And you would tend to get a lot of sales in those stores, but it doesn't cover the United States as a whole, especially in white and Asian neighborhoods, and it doesn't cover all the Canadian markets. We tend to find smaller ladies. They don't cover it. They don't cover it. So, see, if you don't have the client base in order to make sales and increase profits, well, it becomes a ratings flop. So let's continue.
Specifically, Body Quality is being removed from 75 stores and 15 Canadian stores. Gap Inc. also states that it is waiving shipping costs for online orders by women who are unable to find their size in the store. Well, that's something, right? Some places shipping is expensive. According to Gap CEO Sonia Single on the earnings call, while pleased with some of the early indicators, such as the new customer
Sonia Single, get it? CEO Single lady. I thought that was fun.
acquisition and increased brand health, we overestimated demand in stores. See, and that's the thing. A lot of these activists, they can tweet with their fingers and post on Instagram, but they don't show up with their wallets open. And that's in almost every single industry where you see these activists and all this inclusivity and stuff. They don't show up to movies. They don't show up to WNBA games. They don't show up to anything. They just tweet and complain all day. And that's exactly what Old Navy had to find out. But
very good point raised by Doug MPA there, in that a lot of these activists, a lot of these woke advocates tend to be broke. So that's why going woke tends to make you broke, because a lot of people are broke themselves. There's not a client base that would allow for these sort of campaigns and initiatives to thrive. It just simply isn't there. Simply isn't there, and it goes across the board. As he said, people aren't buying your clothes. People aren't buying your catering. People aren't buying your product. People are not buying your drink. People are not consuming your entertainment. And you'll find that theme throughout, in that a lot of these industries in which they push these ideas are dying. They are dying or are lost propositions. They are campaigns, they are initiatives, they are business plans that will not work. They will tend not to thrive in a growing economy, let alone one that is slowly decreasing and going into recession. So again, it's not worth the time or the effort to buy yourself into a campaign where, at this time you have to, go with what is been the success, catering to your core markets and riding out the storm. And maybe in time, as in this case, as people get fatter, maybe then you can bring it back out. But for now, not a lot of people are buying into the product because there's not a lot of clientele for it. Let's continue.
We believe that product quality is right for today's consumers and delivers on Old Navy's mission to democratize styles. We launched too broadly and too quickly. We overplanned large sizes with customer demand under pacing supply, leading to an excessive inventory across stores. There it is. And then not only that, guys, if we're not in the middle of a recession, we're still headed towards one. There are big box retail stores going out of business all over the place. You can't just keep extra stock. No. I want to reinforce that this is not a rollback of inclusive sizing, but rather a realignment of store inventory. You see what she did there? Stated a member of Old Navy's corporate communications team in an email. Patrick.
See, again, what they try to do, and I hope you picked up on it yourself, what they try to do is they try to show the core clientele for this body equality campaign that yes, there will be still size available for you, so we don't lose you. But the fact of the matter is, the availability will be that much smaller. So either you buy it online or you get into the stores when it first is released. But there's going to be a limited amount of stock available because again, we have to cater to our core markets, which are the average size individuals, those who are fit, if not just overweight, within each market. Simple as that. I mean, they're getting back to brass tacks here, as can be as was said by Doug MPA. The markets. I mean, we're heading towards a recession, and it is high time that companies get serious. Companies don't take such high risk because again they're going to lose a lot of money and could lose the company in the process. They can go bankrupt, and nobody wants that at this time. Let's go.
Partridge Stickney was unavailable to comment. Following the announcement, people took to social media to express their discontent with Old Navy's decision. So there's this girl on TikTok, and she's just big. And she's like, they didn't give the program enough time. Change takes time. Large people should be given time to, adjust to the fact that they're closing the stores, not enough time. Yeah, well, time, you can't pay bills with, people not going to the store and the time that you think people need. They got to make sales. Come on now.
Yeah.
So we're not going to watch her TikTok. I watched it before this. It's not worth anything. The average woman in the U.S. in 2022 wears a size 16 to 18, guys. 16 to 18? What?
What indeed? What happened there? Well, I'll tell you what happened there. Let's just go to the stats. No wonder they wear a size 16 to 18, people. It's shown right here. The obesity rates in the United States for women, because again, this is a women's movement. Let's face facts. Body positivity, fat acceptance, body neutrality, all women's movements. Why? Because look at the stats. 55% of black women, 51% of Hispanic women, 38% of white women, 15% of Asian women, all obese. They are all obese. All these women need to be fit in clothing. Double stitched. Larger sizes. And what can you do about that? Well, try to cater to that market. But the fact of the matter is, all these women who need to be fitted tend to be broke. Tend to be not on the high end of the earnings scale. That's the truth. So here's another idea of being woke and yet going broke. Because catering to those markets, you're not going to make much money. Most of these people tend to be, working class to middle class, are living paycheck to paycheck, and are, for lack of a better word, not going to be running to the stores every week to, keep your initiative at the peak of its powers. It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. So you have to go away from it. Simple as that. You have to go back to the original idea of get your big and tall where you can, and if you can't, well, the tried and true, lose some weight. But there you go. I'll let my man finish up here.
What? According to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Even so, plus-size fashion has only recently begun to break through and become included within the mainstream industry. I really think that this body positivity thing, it's never going to leave, but right now it's popular. And I think we're going to see a little more phasing out when, once again, activists in all realms, they don't spend money on anything. They just don't.
They don't.
And so it's popular right now to be body positive, but, and then in a couple more years, you're going to see more people with health problems realizing, dang, I got to lose some weight.
And that's the long and the short of it, people. A lot of these people aren't going to be your customers for long if they continue with their body positive / body neutral / fat acceptance shape, because it's going to cause them health problems. It's going to make them die early. So they can't keep these sort of customers for long, even though they're wearing size 16 to 18 above. That is insane. That is literally 180 to 200 pounds. The average woman in the U.S. weighs 168, size 16 to 18. Kevin said it himself. That is larger than the size of an average man. Higher weight, of higher height. It's amazing. But we have to make it a woke idea. But then again, it's a woke idea that went broke because of the fact that they could not keep the inventory and their customer base does not have the money to keep these initiatives alive. So let's move forward here. Thank you to Doug MPA for that. And let's move to another woke make you go broke campaign, and that is with recently Victoria's Secret. Victoria's Secret is one of the preeminent lingerie brands in the world. If you speak lingerie, if you speak underwear, if you speak undergarments, you're talking about Victoria's Secret. There's no doubt about that. And the fact of the matter is, they were recession-proof for a while there. You would never see Victoria's Secret in any financial trouble. However, lo and behold, the woke community came through and said, you know what? You need to be more inclusive for more body shapes, for more body sizes, and for the LGBT, and for the alphabet gang / the pink mafia. So, in its infinite wisdom, Victoria's Secret said, you know what? Let's do away with all these, Victoria's angels, all these angels, and all these fashion shows, and all the decadence that were of years gone by, and let's cater to the masses. Let's go woke. Let's see how that did. We have a report here from Nate the Lawyer. Subscribe to Nate the Lawyer. He's a lawyer, a retired lawyer in the United States. I think he's still practicing. Oh no, he's still practicing. I believe in the Georgia area or one of the southern states, anyways. If not Northeast, I'd have to find that out. But anyways, on the Eastern Steerboard, I know. Subscribe to Nate the Lawyer. Doing wonderful things in YouTube streets, and he analyzes how Victoria's Secret went from woke to broke, and they had to change their ways as well. So let's get into it. Thank you very much to Nate the Lawyer. Fair use, fair use, fair use. Let's get into it.
Going back to its roots and dropping its feminist and woke makeover after, shock horror, a fall in sales. So GB News viewers can see what the catwalks used to look like. There we go. That's whatever that is. Don't think I'm allowed to say much, am I? Really there? As an engaged man. Now, in 2018, the company rebranded and replaced the usual people for a more diverse range of body types. Okay, so a wide range of body types there.
Buyers said no way to woke lingerie. True, they suffered a financial blow when they put panties on Megan Rapinoe. Victoria's Secret is apparently ditching their...
Whoever wants to see Megan Rapinoe in lingerie needs to have their heads examined, including red-blooded men like myself. Cisgendered men like myself. Let's go.
woke rebrand of recent years after it didn't translate to financial success. The company said they lost money on unsold merch and the yards of fabric needed to make plus-size panties.
Victoria's Secret, the iconic lingerie brand, has been struggling to keep up with the changing times. Now, after they went woke and went broke, the company has decided to get back to its roots. They're gonna get sexy back. Now, today we talk about Victoria's Secret and how they went broke for going woke and how they decided we're going to start making money again. This is exactly how this all unfolded. Now, for those of you who don't know what Victoria's Secret is, let me let you know. Victoria's Secret is a well-known lingerie brand. The company was founded in 1977 by Roy Raymond. Now, he wanted to create a place where men could buy lingerie for their wives without feeling embarrassed. Now, the company grew rapidly.
Stop that for a second. Remember the business model, the business plan for Victoria's Secret. It was for men, cisgender men, straight men, to buy lingerie for their wives without feeling self-conscious, without feeling embarrassed. That was the original business plan. And it worked to perfection. Let it go. Oh, sorry. My bad. Let's continue.
globally and became famous for its annual fashion shows featuring supermodels known as angels who
Angels,
wore
that's it,
elaborate
angels.
costumes and wings. However, in recent years, the company faced criticism for its lack of diversity and representation. And then on top of that, it had a well-documented association with Jeffrey Epstein. We know what he's the naughty man for. Jeffrey Epstein had a close personal relationship with Leslie Wexner, the former CEO of L Brands, the parent company of Victoria's Secret.
Victoria's Secret billionaire Leslie Wexner is under new scrutiny over his relationship with wealthy sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. In a series of interviews with the Washington Post,
Just stopping right here. If you ever get a chance to watch the Netflix documentary on Jeffrey Epstein, he does a wonderful job, just as an aside, on speaking on Jeffrey Epstein and Mr. Wexner and their relationship, Les Wexner and their relationship, which was quite sinister indeed. Let's continue.
accuser Maria Farmer says she blames Wexner for Epstein's alleged assault from 1996.
Farmer says that she was molested by Epstein and his associate, Ghislaine Maxwell. She says that the assault happened on Wexler's property at the hands of his employees.
Now, we need to talk about what Victoria's Secret was and what it was not. See, the reality is that Victoria's Secret was selling a fantasy, what people wanted to be. It wasn't telling people what they actually were. For example, if you go out there and buy a pair of Michael Jordan sneakers, you don't think about those other poor basketball players that didn't make the NBA, right? You think about the fantasy of being like Mike. And those shoes bring you closer to that fantasy. You're wearing Michael Jordan shoes. The same is true with Victoria's Secret. Even if you weren't the most attractive woman in the world, or if you're a husband buying lingerie for your wife who is not Giselle Bundchen, or if you're a husband buying lingerie for your wife who's not a supermodel, putting on the same clothes that supermodels wore made you feel like it. And in turn, it brought you closer to that fantasy. Think about this. Do people fantasize about looking like Megan Rapinoe or Kate Upton in lingerie? Now we can reverse this.
That is the ultimate question. Now, Victoria's Secret tended to forget. Who did these housewives, who did these girlfriends, who did these young women, and old women as well? Don't discriminate. We don't discriminate here. Who did these women want to be more alike? Kate Upton or Megan Rapinoe? Did they want to be like Tyra Banks? Or did they want to be like... We'll take your pick of any woke lady out there with, pinkish hair or whatever. And guaranteed, it'll be the Kate Uptons and the Kim Kardashian. Well, she has her own company. I would say Kim Kardashian. And the, yes, indeed, Tyra Banks of the world. Well, when Tyra Banks was Tyra Banks. And not, repeat, not Megan Rapinoe et al. I kid you not. Let's go.
Or people fantasize about playing soccer like Kate Upton or playing soccer like Megan Rapinoe. So, the good people at Victoria...
Don't ask that question because Megan Rapinoe is not exactly the best at soccer herself. Okay, just saying. Anyway.
Secret seem to forget this point in an attempt to be on the right side of history. Victoria's Secret went woke and announced a dramatic shift in marketing strategy in June 2021. The company ditched its fame as angels and hired a diverse group of women as spokespeople, including star Megan Rapinoe, biological men or trans women, and plus-size models. The move was meant to...
Now, here's the thing. Remember what the edict was for Victoria's Secret in the first place. It was to get men to buy lingerie for their wives. That was the original business idea. Do you think cisgendered straight men want to buy a fantasy made up of the three aforementioned ladies there, Lizzo, Megan Rapinoe, and who that last person is? I don't know, the transgender one. I don't think so. In other words, they forgot their core audience, as you'll see many times tonight. What a lot of these woke companies did was they forgot who brought their companies to prominence. They were so arrogant that they said, you know what, we don't need our core audience anymore. Let's cater to a new audience because we're that good. We're that successful. We can transcend our core audience, but that's never the case. And remember, the woke are usually the broke. Let's continue.
Promote inclusivity and the feminist image, and to address concerns of women who felt alienated by the brand. This was now the woke fantasy.
Its reputation was built on creating a sexy yet accessible fantasy. But critics say that fantasy was targeted toward men, not women. The company announced a sweeping overhaul yesterday that it says will better reflect the times and what women want. Gone is it.
Now remember, I remember back in the day, this is pre-pandemic, when I went into Victoria's Secret Edition shopping. And the fact of the matter was, even though men were shopping there, women were still shopping there as well. Women did not mind men shopping for lingerie. Actually, they were very helpful for men to help find lingerie for their girlfriends and wives. Very, very helpful indeed. And women were finding lingerie for themselves. It's sort of like, I'll tell you something it's like. It's sort of like going to the gym. There are women's only gyms found everywhere. But you know where women like going to the gym? They like going to the gym where men are. Because they want the attention and adulation that men bring. So guess what? Where men were congregating to buy lingerie, women wanted to be there as well. Why? Because women wanted to be like the wives and girlfriends of the men who walked in those stores and bought the lingerie. They wanted to look just like them, if not be them themselves. Are you kidding? Are you picking up what I'm putting down? So for you to take away your core audience and only cater to women, guess what? Guess what? Women will tend to dissuade themselves. Women will treat Victoria's Secret like they did the gym. They'll take themselves away from it because their core audience, which were men, aren't there anymore. Because that's who women want to be around. They want to be around guys. They want the attention thrown their way, even though they'll try to shame them at the end of the day. But for the right guy, oh, believe me, they'll welcome that attention. And they'll welcome their help when shopping for lingerie. Especially when they are the center of attention in terms of finding it. Let's go.
Its stable of angels, the supermodels who starred in glossy ads, and its annual big-budget fashion show. The new faces of the brand are women who don't fit the traditional Victoria's Secret mold.
Again, the fact that I feel comfortable in it. Pieces are sort of interchangeable. I can wear them.
Let me tell you something right now. Let me go back to this picture. Right now. Megan, you are free to do as you will, okay? I kid you not. I do not hate on you at all. But here's the thing about... Let me do this again.
Again, the fact that I feel comfortable.
The fact you feel comfortable and the fact that you are who you are. There we go. The fact that you are who you are, Megan, does not bring any sort of... How should I say this correctly? It does not bring any sort of arousal or want to get lingerie when you wear it. We get arousal when ladies like this are wearing it. Guaranteed, we're running to the scores then because look who is modeling these girls. Looks like cisgendered ladies. No, they tend to be on the skinny side. I get it. But again, they cater to a certain market. And guess what? Men are attracted to this market. We want these ladies and yet not, when given the choice, this lady. You're picking up what I'm putting down here. Let's continue.
Wear them dressed up, dressed down, but ultimately, even if you're just wearing them on their own, they're comfortable with something you can move in, you feel like free in it. People should never wear something they don't like or they don't feel comfortable in.
However, this rebranding didn't translate into business success.
Listen, I'm gonna call it spade. I'm gonna keep it a buck. Megan Rapinoe is not the best looking girl out there. She is not. She just isn't. She is not. No man worth his salt is running to be Megan Rapinoe's date, despite the fact that she is lesbian. No one's running to her to put their to grab a poster of her half naked to post on their garage or on their wall or on their screensaver. If you want to inspire men to buy your product, you need to bring in ladies who look like they deserve to be in your product. And Megan Rapinoe wasn't it. It just wasn't it. I'll call it spade a spade. Let's go.
Dropped in 2023 compared to the previous year. The company also faced criticism from some customers and commentators who accused it of abandoning its core identity and pandering to a woke culture.
There it is.
Victoria's Secret has gone woke. There's Giselle since it was last on. In 2019, they hired their first transgender model because, of course, right, yet another space that women used to dominate, and now, no. The Angels were later replaced by...
And can you believe this? They replaced real women with fake ones. They replaced the real with the fake, and they wanted us to buy in. Cisgendered, heterosexual males, they wanted us to buy into that. That transgender lady, I want some of that. What? No red-blooded male, and I'll say it right now. Yes, I'm from a different age, a different time, but the fact that it remains true. No red-blooded male wants any lingerie modeled by the Alphabet Gang, members of the Alphabet Gang, / within reason, of course. Modeled by, let's call a spade, transgender ladies. I do apologize, but it's the truth. We don't want it. Never did. They never asked the core audience, men, if they would like a former man, if they wanted lingerie modeled by a former man. Seriously?
Victoria's Secret Collective, an unparalleled group of trailblazing partners who share a common goal to drive positive change. Instead of Giselle, we have Megan Rapinoe. Instead of Stephanie Seymour, we have, let's see, a refugee from South Sudan. We have, of course, the plus-size models. We've got Priyanka Chopra Jonas because, I don't know, she's diverse and she's married to a Jonas. And they've been featuring women of all shapes and sizes, as well as the various nods to diversity and inclusion.
These are the new Victoria's Secret models here. I like the color diversity, that's fine, but this is, let's face facts, guys. They're trying to sell ice to Eskimos. They're trying to poach a turd, as they say. And men weren't buying it. They just weren't buying it. They just were not buying it. They weren't buying it. You were buying it. I don't want anything here. Not for... Oh, God. Oh, God, no. No. This wasn't going to work. This wasn't going to work. Then we're going to go for this. Their core audience meant we're not going to go for this. Maybe the one on the left. Maybe for the one on the left. Maybe the one in the middle there. But the numbers 2 and 4, they would have to, yeah, step aside. Just can't help.
As soon as they did that, FYI, Bridget, their sales fell 8%, and they went down another 4.5% in the last year. So people don't seem to be responding particularly well to the heavy-set models who are refugees and also men.
Welcome back. You know, wokeness may be hurting Victoria's Secret's bottom line. It has been years, I don't know if you've noticed, since the Angels walked the runway after the lingerie company canceled its iconic fashion show back in 2019 and has since ditched the angel wings in its marketing altogether. It also tapped soccer star and liberal activist Megan Rapinoe to represent the brand. But those changes, they're not really paying off. In fact, not yet anyway. Sales have reportedly dropped.
Remember, the LGBTQ community is 6% of the population. 6. And you know who are the richest among them? They tend to be gay men. The gay men aren't rocking into Victoria's Secret shops. Lesbians aren't walking into, well, maybe they are. But they're only 6% of the population. Your core audience, the ones who are bringing you the dollars, are cisgendered men. So their arrogance led to a downturn in profits and sales. So
4.5% in the last quarter alone. And now the company is actually firing 160 management level employees. That's a move that's expected to save the company about $40 million. So clearly they are hurting. And the label behind Victoria's Secret has always been women. Why can't women be women? I mean, honestly, and that's what this woke nature is bringing up, that we can't appreciate women. Women do wear.
Why can't we appreciate women? This is absolutely true. Why can't we appreciate XX chromosomes as they were intended in their original form? Why can't we do it? The world has thrived until now, until the last 20 to 30 years when the world went a little doolally. But why can't we go back to a world where women, real women, were celebrated? And the best of those women got on runways and were celebrated as well. Because the core audience of men, we tended to like that. We really tended to like that. And for you to alienate your core audience, let me just put this a bit further down. There we go. And for you to alienate your core audience, my dear, that is just short-sightedness of the highest order. And no wonder 160 employees were laid off, because somebody was asleep at the wheel.
Wear lingerie, correct?
Yes.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
I
Okay,
don't
thank you.
understand. The world is so woke, but we can't have angels in a flat fashion show.
Now, in light of the financial disaster of using biological men and women's lingerie to sell female sexiness to your 90% heterosexual customer base, it wasn't a shock that people didn't buy in to the woke fantasy. So now, with sales dropping dramatically, Victoria's Secret decided to revert back to the original branding that emphasized sexiness over wokeness. The company plans to bring back the runway show, which it canceled back in 2019. It now features models who embody the classic Victoria's Secret look, the fantasy of beauty, and not the reality of woke politics.
The lingerie brand's makeover efforts included making Meghan and trans model Valentina Sampaio spokesmodels, as well as getting rid of their famous angels. But their chief exec...
Absolute trash. What would make us think that Victoria Rapinoe and part of the Pink Mafia would make us want to buy lingerie? I don't get it. Somebody was asleep at the wheel. I swear somebody was asleep at the wheel. Continue, sir. I'm sorry. I do apologize.
Executive told investors last week, quote, "Despite everyone's best endeavors, it's not been enough to carry the day." Wow, who could have told you that, you idiot? So they're returning to what works, hot models. Recent campaigns featured Hailey Bieber and Emily Ratajkowski.
The decision to go back to basics reflects Victoria's Secret's aim to recover from the sales slump by going back to a marketing strategy that had previously proven successful for the brand. Sexy women in sexy clothes. The company hopes to regain its loyal customer base and attract new ones under its old image. Can't even say it's revamped, it's actually its old image.
The Victoria's Secret lingerie brand has decided to drop its woke feminist makeover from a few years ago to promote body positivity, and they're now going to, mad idea, prioritise sex appeal over female empowerment after being hit.
Remember, people, remember to talk to God viewers out there. Sex sells. Remember that adage? Sex sells. Sexy women, sexy clothing sells. Massively. People want to go away from that because, again, we want to be all-inclusive and all this and that. No. I like the all shades, all colors. But sexy women come in all shades and all colors. Let me say that. And if you put them in lingerie, things will sell. Things will do just fine. You don't have to put in anyone resembling males, either born male or female, into your lingerie and try to polish a turd because you don't need to. It already writes itself. But yet, Victoria's Secret was so arrogant, so blind to the wills of its core audience that it said it can do it all. Well, they came down to a thundering halt and they realized after 2 years, hey, time to get out of this game. Woke is making us broke and it's time to go. You catching the theme here? Let's move on.
With falling sales, the American lingerie brand stopped its catwalks with its signature angels in 2018 and declared it wanted to be the world's leading advocate for women, a lingerie brand. But it now seems it's decided that going woke does mean going broke, and they've decided to backtrack.
Well, folks, it seems that Victoria's Secret has learned the hard way that you can't please everybody. In their quest to be more woke, they alienated their core customer base. Like guys going to a strip club and finding out it's now a church. See, Victoria's Secret was selling sex. It wasn't selling inclusiveness. And the people who were selling sex to wanted to have sex with attractive people. And the fantasy of seeing those attractive people in those sexy clothes. Now, this is not hard to explain, but the company who has made billions of dollars seems to forgot this. The simple point. It was selling sexy clothes to normal people using sexy models as the fantasy of what it could be. Now, what's the moral of the story? Stick to what you know. Because trying to please everyone, you'll end up at the end pleasing no one. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe.
Thank you very much to Nate.
And something like 70% of you.
Thank you very much to Nate, the lawyer, for that. It just makes so much sense. You know, sometimes you just got to do what you know. And what you know is you know how to sell sex. You know how to sell sexy lingerie. Just sell it to the people who are your core audience. Just fine. You don't have to cater to anyone. You don't have to bust down doors. You don't have to put down rainbow signs down every corner. You don't have to employ those of the Pink Mafia, those of the Alphabet Gang, in any way, shape, or form, in order for you to make a profit. You don't have to do it. You literally don't have to do it. Another lesson learned by Victoria's Secret. Thank you very much for joining me on Talk Live on IG and YouTube. We move forward to further companies who seem not to have learned their lesson. And yes, indeed. Let me see what we got here. Yes, we're gonna learn from a few more of those companies right now. Shout out to Sky News Australia. Again, they need no introduction. Ferries. Let's find out some more companies. Again, watch the accents, people. Let's get into this.
And Target have taken a financial and reputational hit because they decided to hop on the woke bandwagon. Sky News All-Stars Rita Panahi, Megyn Kelly and Caleb Bond chronicle the meteoric fall of these brands and ask if they will ever recover and win back their loyal customer base. Diversity, equity, and inclusion are some of the biggest buzzwords in corporate America. In fact, DEI management is the second fastest growing job on LinkedIn at the moment, and big businesses are feeling the pressure to improve their reputation as an employer of choice in an increasingly competitive marketplace. But do these companies actually care about the well-being of their employees? Or is this a very expensive display of virtue signaling?
What you find with companies like this is they actually don't care about these different kind of cultural issues. They just want to look good and kind of have the social media claps. But yeah, it's ridiculous.
And these multinational corporations, they don't care about us, whether it's Bud Light or whether it's, a Target. They really don't care. They just all care about their ESG, their social credit score within businesses. So I think that these companies, all they care about is appeasing to other companies. Maybe they'll start appeasing to their customers and changing a lot of this weird indoctrination that they're just subliminally putting everywhere. But also, you can't ignore it, really.
The list of once great brands falling victim to woke virtue signaling is growing longer by the day. Sky News All-Stars reflect on the victims of woke ideology. The most high-profile fall from grace has been Bud Light, where transgender influencer Dylan Mulvaney destroyed the market share of the iconic beer brand.
Bud Light, we know the troubles that they're in, but they have now officially lost their title as the America's favourite beer.
After 2 decades, a new top-selling beer in the U.S. Mexican lager Modelo Especial was the top-selling beer last month, overthrowing Bud Light. There are a couple things at play here, including flat-out changing taste, but also the backlash from a social media post by transgender influencer Dylan Mulvaney.
This is really let me stop it right there for a second. Now, here's the thing about the difference between about Bud Light and Modelo. Modelo, they catered. Listen, they went straight up and catered to, yes, they're a more diverse sort of company, being a Mexican. I think it's a Mexican American beer company. But the fact of the matter is, just because they're a Mexican American beer company, yes, there's a tendency to be woke because they cater to their core audience, which tended to be Latinx, or the Latinx community, and any sort of minority movement thereafter. But also, what they tended to do was they tended to be one for the working class, one for the middle class, one for those who literally are the heartland of the United States. They cater to the working individual in the trenches in North America. They've always heralded people such as store owners and cooks and graffiti artists and boxers and all these different people who came up from the bottom and now made success of themselves. Those who embody the quote unquote American dream. That was their ad campaign. They wrote it to a huge amount of success. Now, what Bud Light used to do that, but they said, you know what? Anheuser-Busch said, you know what, we are so good at this that they'll buy anything we throw at them. So let's throw at them a transgender spokesperson. Let's throw woke ideology through Bud Light. How wrong they were. Let us continue.
Good. I'm a firm believer that you, the individual, have some autonomy in this game. And when people say, okay, that company, they've gone woke, they're promoting trans ideology or whatever it might be. In this case, it was because of this influencer, Dylan Mulvaney, who supposedly is trans or whatever it might be. It's like, okay, you don't like your own audience. You don't like the frat guys who drink Bud Light. We're just not going to drink it anymore. And Bud Light, they really destroyed the brand. And I'm telling you, man, this one's good.
Remember who their core audience were. Frat bros. Literal frat bros. Cisgendered, red-blooded, heterosexual, straight men. Young, testosterone-filled men. You went away from that. And what you got back was, well, what you see before you here on YouTube. Dylan Mulvaney. Anything but. I keep telling you, going woke is making you go broke, and Bud Light had to pay the price. Let's continue.
Gonna stick. It's embarrassing to go and get Bud Light at a bar.
And remember, hold on just a second. Bud Light is I've not been to a how shall I say, a pig mafia bar and grill lately. But what I do know is that I wouldn't see them as selling a lot of Bud Lights in that community. And even if they were, they're only 6% of the population. Only 6%. So I don't know where Anheuser-Busch got off treating their top brand and trying to push it on shelves of such a inclusive community. Uninclusive community. Let's continue in a bit. Talk soon. Welcome back to Talk Live. We're into the second hour of well, when you go broke, you can go broke. Yes, we are on the Bud Light trail right now. We've already gone into Old Navy. We've gone into Victoria's Secret. Now we're into Bud Light. Now we're into Anheuser-Busch. And how their top brand, Bud Light, once the most drunk or consumed, there you go, the most consumed beer beverage in the United States, fell from grace by pushing a woke ideology. Let us continue here.
At a party or wherever anymore.
This follows the latest update on Bud Light, with Anheuser-Busch reportedly
fair use.
losing $27 billion in market value thanks to its attempt to force transgender ideology.
Let that be said again. $27 billion lost by going woke. $27 billion. That is literally turning up to every frat house and telling these boys, F you, we don't need you. A much larger, more lucrative, because listen, as a frat boy, you tend to come from money. Let's face facts here, okay? All right. When you're in the LGBTQ community, unless you have, a successful career, and that tends to be, you tend to be a little older, and you tend not to drink Bud Light. Then literally that group doesn't have a lot of money. Frat boys do have a lot of money. So you're literally telling the frat boys, the ones with the cash, we don't need you, dough. F you, we're going with that community over there that barely drinks our drink because we want to include them in under our umbrella. Well, yeah, well, let's find out.
On to America's beer.
SCUK around and find out.
And even the ad agency behind the Dylan Mulvaney stunt is facing a questionable future, according to Sky News All-Star Megyn Kelly.
The disaster that is the performance artist of Dylan Mulvaney, we now learn that there's more problems, not just for Bud Light, who people are not buying, they're not going back to it, they have found the alternatives when it comes to their beer of choice, but the ad agency responsible for, further empowering the performance artist is in even more trouble now.
The reports are that they are in an all-out panic, and why wouldn't they be? They've made a legendary mistake. They now have made this brand, rather than more sellable, they have made it a laughingstock. To be caught with a can of Bud Light in America now is like being caught with your pants down. You look like a fool. Everyone will laugh at you. You're not in on the joke. You've made yourself a national humiliation just by selecting the wrong beer can. And for those who have been living under a rock and haven't yet been told what's happened to that brand and what it now means, they're about to find out the hard way. They're going to be the butt of a lot of jokes just by ordering a beer that used to be symbolic of middle America. So far, we've had at least 2 people essentially fired, laid off, but they were never seen again. We've had this advertising company completely embarrassed and in a panic now. Who's going to hire them? to run their marketing campaign. We've had one of these classic American brands absolutely devastated, and their devastation has been like a nuclear bomb. The plutonium has rubbed off. It's still in the ether, coming down on companies like Target, like Chick-fil-A, like Kohl's, another clothing company. So the shrapnel is hitting others now because the American public has been stimulated, awoken, and remains very angry about this kind of thing.
Department store Target also experienced financial and reputational damage when they featured a tuck-friendly range of apparel for children during Pride Month. Sky News All-Star James Morrow explains.
Well, as we always say on this show, go woke, go broke. And isn't that the case? Just check out what's happening to Target in the U.S. It has lost 9.
Before we go into Target is one of the largest U.S. retailers, and they decided to go woke, just like their Old Navy counterparts did. Yes, we moved on from Bud Light because Bud Light is a sinking ship. Luckily, they still Anheuser-Busch still has Budweiser, and that does relatively well. So they're not going to exactly, lay down and die literally, but they've taken a massive hit, a super massive hit. Now we move on to Target. Target again is a huge retailer in the United States. Used to be in Canada, but remember, they fell upon hard times as well, especially during the recession. And especially during the recession, the pandemic, and then they decided to go woke. Strike three. The recession was first, then came the pandemic. Now they decided to go woke. And as you can see, they lost $9 billion in a week. That was something. When will they learn? When will they ever learn? Let's continue.
$9 billion with a B dollars in market value since causing controversy over its rollout of a Pride collection featuring LGBTQ-friendly clothing for children. Now, to discuss this and lots more, filmmaker and my favorite New Yorker, Ami Horowitz, joins me now. Ami, thanks so much for coming on the...
If there's one thing that upsets a lot of parents in this space, a lot of them, is when you try to push LGBTQ ideas on children. Very divisive, very inflammatory subject. So for you to push Alphabet Gang clothing for children, you're only looking for trouble. You're begging for it. In this social climate, you're begging for it. When parents are literally picketing out front of schools, public schools that do not adhere to the LGBTQ ideology, for their protest against the LGBTQ ideology. You're begging for trouble then. But Target thought they were too big to fail. And here we are. Let's continue.
U.S. report, and I'm fascinated by this whole case of Target following on Bud Light. It seems like public protest is really working here with the calls to boycott Target. Are they starting to panic?
Yeah, look, I've always been of the view that we should not use economic boycotts. We have political disagreements. That has always been my view for many, many years. I've changed that view. The other side has weaponized economics. They've weaponized boycotts to push their particular agenda and has been extraordinarily effective. For that reason, I changed my mind a couple of years ago. I think we have to wield the same weapon. I think it's damaging to all of us in the U.S. and the world to do such a thing, but I don't see it as any kind of choice. Yes, it has worked. It's worked quite effectively, actually. It's worked with Bud Light. It's now worked with Target, or as we say, Target. They moved this to the back of many of their stores. It's awful that we've come to this position, but this is where we are, and we have to fight fire with fire. And it pains me to say that, but yes, economic boycotts are very, very effective.
So this is a really interesting thing to me then. Does it seem that on the, I guess, conservative, or maybe just I should say normal side of politics and in the customer base just out in general, people have all woken up to this kind of at the same time and is saying enough is enough.
And US ice cream giant Ben & Jerry's hypocrisy was exposed after they demanded reparations through a 4th of July tweet, but didn't offer their headquarters land to the traditional owners themselves.
And now perhaps Ben & Jerry's is going to pay a price too. The mediocre ice cream brand is no stranger to activism. And this week they marked Independence Day with this Twitter post saying, "It's high time we recognise that the US exists on stolen Indigenous land and commit to returning it." Well, it seems that bit of anti-American sentiment might cost Ben & Jerry's. Not only are there calls for a boycott as the parent company's share price falls, but they are now being asked to live up to what they're preaching about the US existing on stolen land that must be returned. An Indigenous tribe descended from the Native American nation that originally controlled the land in Vermont that Ben & Jerry's headquarters is located on, well, they want their land back. The chief of the Nulhegan Band of Cossack Abenaki Nation told Newsweek they wanted to reclaim stewardship of their lands, but Ben & Jerry's had failed to approach them. Imagine my shock here.
The beloved Disney company also...
Stop that for a second there. So we go quickly from Target, who lost $9 billion by pushing a LGBTQ campaign for children's wear. Whoever thought of that, I don't know where they are now, but quite simply, I'm sure they're out of a job. To now we discover Ben & Jerry's asking to give back to the... And now, again, I myself wouldn't mind such a campaign, but you know who would? The core audience of Ben & Jerry's, who tend to be white, who tend to not want to give back land at all. So I'm torn between the two. It's very problematic, and it will draw a lot of ire from one's core audience. And as was seen there in the former frame here, Aboriginal band, an Indigenous chief wants to take back the land from Ben & Jerry themselves. They're just begging for trouble by doing that. Now they want back their land. Ben & Jerry never went to meet with these individuals. So that quickly backfired. Woke making you go broke to a certain extent, and it took a hit on its shares and also on its profit margins as well. So it did themselves no favors by doing that. Now let's get to a big fish again. Disney, let's go.
Financial damage being woke is doing to their brand, reveals Sky News All-Star Rita Panahi.
And speaking of lefty lunacy, Disney is in the headlines this week after losing a whopping 2.4 million subscribers. I wonder if the company's relentlessly woke activism has anything to do with, their image suffering. Surely the painfully woke content, including incoherent race-baiting cartoons, well, that doesn't have anything to do with their current troubles, does it? I mean, who wouldn't love to watch The Proud Family, Louder and Prouder, which features the diabolically dumb and dangerous book White Fragility from race hustler Robin DiAngelo. I mean, what could be better than sitting down in front of the TV with the kids to watch this catastrophe?
The descendants of slaves continue to build this. Slaves built this country. And we, the descendants of slaves in America, have earned reparations for their suck and continue to earn reparations every moment we spend submerged in the systemic prejudice, racism, and white supremacy that America was founded with and still has not atoned for. Slaves built this country, and only we can free ourselves. Emancipation is not freedom. Jim Crow, segregation, redlining, public schools, feeding private prisons, where we become slaves again. As we celebrate Juneteenth for the umpteenth time, our account is still outstanding. Cause this country was built on slavery, which means slaves built this country. And we demand our 40 acres and a mule.
gosh, can't wait to get home and watch the rest of that right after I stick a couple of thumbtacks right in my eyes.
And Starbucks went...
Okay. Now here again, because this speaks right to my community, is where I am torn, but I gotta say, you know, dealing with a core audience, I mean, clearly I'm torn. I'm clearly torn. Listen, I'm black. A lot of these views, I will give a lending ear to as well, but I know for a fact that certain people would not accept such ideals. They wouldn't. You just wouldn't. And you're going to get a lot of backlash from it. And you may lose a lot of your core audience from it. Now, it's hope that the African American community, African diaspora community will help support and bring back a few dollars from it, as it did with Black Panther. Let me say that. The Black Panther franchise was widely accepted throughout the world. And you know, this was another bit of, let me see, woke sort of, and I wouldn't say an agenda, a woke sort of recourse and quid pro quo and give back to the community, a lot of paying it forward to the black community through this ad campaign, which I would, again, I would be a hypocrite if I didn't support it. I would support it. However, you're going to get a lot of enemies that way. So, does it make you go broke? Not necessarily. If you lose a bit of a core white audience and you gain a core of a black audience, because again, it makes up for a bigger percentage of the population. So is it a calculated move? Yes. However, it only pays off if you have more African Americans sign up to such programming. So again, I think you'll get more of an audience from the more audience than the LGBTQ community. But again, it depends on their support. But this is where woke can make you go broke by forwarding such an agenda, which I would tend to agree with. But let's continue.
Went all out, dedicating an entire TV commercial to transgender issues, but faced backlash from customers, which forced them to tone down their woke agenda. They can't win though, with staff striking over the removal of Pride merchandise from the stores. Starbucks has shown that politics and coffee just don't mix, whichever way you look at it.
Around 3,500 Starbucks workers from over 150 stores will go on strike this week in the US. The union representing Starbucks employees say stores are not allowing employees to decorate their workplaces for Pride Month. The company has denied the claims, labelling them as false information. It comes as many businesses face growing criticism for their support of Pride Month.
Starbucks India's decided they're
Yeah, Starbucks used to have a year-round policy of supporting Pride and supporting LGBTQ agendas, initiatives, employees, etc. And they decided to go away from that because, again, a lot of their core audience, which tend not to be LGBTQ, were up in arms about it because after Pride Month, it would continue on in through the year. And they would decorate Pride regalia throughout the stores throughout the year. But a lot of people complained, and they said, you know what, we can't do this anymore, quite simply. And again, as you can see, there were a lot of protests by a lot of Starbucks employees who tended to be from the LGBTQ community in and of itself. But again, that's another tug of war right there. But again, you're dealing with a small segment of the community catering to, going against a larger set, which doesn't like such things. And Starbucks was losing money. But again, we can see that going woke can make you go broke. But I think in Starbucks' idea, I don't think they're going to be so broke as it would be in the Bud Light, in the Victoria's Secret, and in the Old Navy examples. Disney to a certain extent as well. And we're going to answer that in just a minute as to what may be the problem with Disney in comparison to these other brands.
going to advertise about transgenderism. They've put out an ad depicting a transgender girl who is going to catch up with her parents for the first time in a long time in a Starbucks store. Take a look.
थैंक यू पापा फॉर मीटिंग मी आई नो बड़े साल बीत गए लेकिन आप आज भी मेरे लिए सब कुछ हो
कॉफी
Now, apart from that jingle, which is just a crime, an oral crime, what a tenuous link to go, okay, we're now going to try and get this social engineering agenda into a coffee shop. Please.
But there is hope on the horizon. The consumer pushback has seemed to work, with many of the brands toning down their overt woke agendas, according to Rita Panahi.
If you go woke, you may very well go broke. You've got, here we go, you've got Disney's chief diversity officer resigning. Disney's first ever film featuring a non-binary character, Elemental, had the company's lowest opening weekend revenue in its history. Target stock is down around $15 billion. Starbucks is toning down its Pride display. We know that trouble Bud Light have got themselves into. Do you think lefty CEOs and marketing departments are feeling pressure?
Again, you see those. Look at the returns for 2023 there. Disney, Don Banner, Elemental lost. Disney's movie Elemental lost money. Disney's chief diversity officer resigned. Target's stock is down by $15 billion. Starbucks is toning down its Pride decorations on despite HQ denials. Dylan Mulvaney has been silent. The one who led the charge, who was the spokesperson for Bud Light, he has been silent. They've taken him off his ad campaign. The fact of the matter is, going woke makes you go broke, and companies will, in kind, react. Because the only color that really means anything is the color green. And if you are falling behind on that, well, that's the ultimate decider.
Lefty CEOs and marketing departments are feeling pressure now from the half of the population that doesn't share their worldview.
Yeah, I think what you saw, Rita, was a building frustration with these corporations that feel it's their place to preach at their customers instead of just serving them with the products and the services that they're supposed to be doing. And the Budweiser, Bill and Mulvaney controversy really blew open that dam. And now company after company is feeling the force of a consumer base that's just sick of it. They're tired of being preached at. They're tired of being scolded by people who take their money and supposedly serve their interests. And so I think right now, any C-suite in America that is not focused on just serving consumers is cruising for a bruiser.
So stopping right there, and then we'll move on. Yes. I don't think there's much to be said there, but let's get back. So nobody wants to be the next Bud Light. Nobody wants to be the next Victoria's Secret. Nobody wants to be the next Old Navy. Nobody wants to be the next no one wants to be the next Bud Light, Old Navy, Disney, Target. Nobody wants to be the next one. So, but let's provide a little balance here in that, especially on the Disney example, because Disney is a huge company. And they can afford to take a few body blows from its core audience. And we've gone here to the TLDR business channel. Like and subscribe to TLDR News. And they have done the due diligence on, indeed, why Disney is losing money. Is going woke killing Disney? We ran the math. Thank you very much to TLDR Business. And do like and subscribe to them. And let's get into this fair use. And let's get into the reason why. The real reason why Disney, the real reasons why Disney's are losing money, and if going woke is really killing Disney, and if they're going broke. Let's go.
Then what's really going on at Disney?
The first and most obvious problem when it comes to Disney's movies isn't wokeness. It's just plain bad storytelling. Disney has demonstrated a remarkable lack of creativity in recent years, which has certainly blunted the impact of their movies and storytelling. When people are constantly offered fresh and unique approaches, not just by other movie studios, but also by social media and streaming, it's understandable that people might not head out to the movie theatre to see a rehashed Little Mermaid, regardless of who's cast in the lead role. Bad marketing is clearly also an issue here too. Movies like Elemental and Strange Worlds suffered not
So again, the first problem being the storytelling. If you don't have a right script, if you don't have a movie that really hits and resonates with audiences, nobody's going to go see it. And especially in an environment where movie-going is at an all-time low. I think the pandemic really hit hard to movie theaters. Now, people are still going to the movies, but it takes a really big movie to bring them out there. Really big. And if people smell that you're not bringing the goods in terms of a film, they don't want anything to do with you. So that's the first reason. Let's go into the second.
Only because they were woke, but because they were massively underpromoted. In fact, we know that Strange Worlds had its budget slashed in order to promote other Disney properties, like the broadly successful Black Panther. So this total lack of awareness might have more to do with its failure than the fact that one of its characters happens to be gay. And even if movie studios do make good movies and market them well, we're just seeing structural decline in the industry. The latest entries in the Mission Impossible and Fast and Furious franchises have both underperformed expectations. Neither suffered because they were woke. Both largely struggled because people just don't go to the theatre in the same way that they did in years gone by.
As I said, the pandemic really hit the movie theaters hard. And not a lot of people are going to the theaters. They'd rather go to to illegal means to look at films. They'd rather go to illegal means. And they'd rather not spend the money on popcorn, on seats, on being around people. And it's really a problem. Again, unless you have a great story to tell. So it really begs the question, where are those great stories? It's time. When are movie theaters, when are movie companies going to start banking on experimental films, on new stories, and really pushing them to the fore rather than going with the tried and true? There it is.
This then looks like a pretty flimsy excuse to justify why these movies are underperforming across the board. You might think, perhaps correctly, that movies are getting more woke. But it seems that just because some people are offended by transgender characters, the discussion of race, or a kiss between same-sex characters, this just doesn't seem to be widespread enough to really push down box office earnings. The thing is, though, that this power isn't distributed perfectly between markets. Bud Light fell off so hard because it appealed specifically to an audience which are more likely to buy into the go woke, go broke narrative and boycott brands that go against their politics. But the same isn't true of all industries. Just take a look at the movie industry, and more specifically the runaway success of Barbie, one of the most woke movies on our list. It might have been widely bemoaned by conservative media, but ultimately they don't hold as much power in this industry as they might think. And while pushback from conservatives...
Well said there by TLDR, in that the movie industry tends to be a woke industry. That's the one true area where woke doesn't have to make you go broke. Disney can ride through a storm as long as it tells a great story, as it seemed to have done with Barbie. People went to see Barbie in droves. In that, once you have a great story that people will believe in, that word of mouth spreads, it is, how shall you say, woke proof. And you can get through, and you can say the same thing about Black Panther. Black Panther was a woke film as well, but Black Panther was the biggest rated Marvel film of all time. And that is because it was a great story that people wanted to see and the world wanted to watch, and there it is. So if you have a great story, people want to see it. And again, the movies tend not to be a non-woke area of business. There it is. So if there's one area where going woke can actually be more profitable, it is in movies, because people want to see images of themselves on the screen. Simple as that. Representation is everything, especially in such a industry. Let's continue.
Conservatives certainly can make some impact. It's just not as big as the impact felt by making bad movies, marketing them poorly, and the decline of the box office more generally. As I say, the analysis and data in this video aren't perfect, but the trends do seem to hold up. And we were able to do that analysis and find those trends thanks to Brilliant.org. They're the STEM learning platform.
And we'll leave it there, ladies and gentlemen. There's going to be a little more promotion here until the end of the thing. So thank you to TLDR and their, let me just leave that there, and their business channel. Like and subscribe to them. Fair use. Wonderful how that will bring a little more balance to things, because again, not everything that went broke is going broke, and one of them is the film community, is the motion picture community, which tends to be woke in and of itself. And if you have a great story, people want to see it, no matter where your political leanings may be. So let's get into some final thoughts here from myself. Now, yes, indeed. The one thing you have to realize is, especially in the woke community, is the fact that you have to cater to your target audience. With regards to Old Navy, it wasn't plus size models. It was average people who tended to be overweight or less than overweight, even though the average woman in the United States is between a size 16 and 18, which is madness, absolute madness. It is hoped, but again, it wasn't a size 30, and so the campaign that Old Navy used for, well, I'm not gonna leave it there. The campaign for Old Navy and their was it now body fluidity? I think it is body fluidity. Let me just check this out quickly. Their campaign of, I think it's body fluidity. Oh yes, body equality. Their campaign of body equality, and the fact that they lost a whole lot of money is because at the end of the day, not a lot of people that were would be walking around asking for a size 30 or 16 and above. A lot of them would tend to be an 8 to 10 to 12 range, or even smaller. So they got back to they got back to their core audience, which were average-sized people. Even though they're larger, average-sized people. So going rogue definitely made them go broke. Going to the Victoria's Secret model, that is, going woke definitely went broke there, because your core audience are males and heterosexual females who want to look like the models who were in the Victoria's Secret fashion shows, the Angels. And if you take that away, and if you don't allow a lingerie store to sell sex, you're going to lose money. So Victoria's Secret took a big old swing, and they struck out. But luckily, within the first few quarters, they said, you know what, scrap that. Let's get back to our core audience. Let's get back to doing what we do best, which is selling sex. Funny enough, we don't need to go woke. We're doing just fine without it. So again, their arrogance made their profits fall. However, they got back on the bandwagon. Then we move on to places like Bud Light. Bud Light make a huge mistake by going woke, because your core audience are frat boys who like cheap beer. Like cheap, light beer. And you decided to go away from that and cater to a community that really doesn't drink beer. They only drink wine and, certain amounts of beer, but, their drinking tastes are diverse. Why would you cater to that market? You lost billions in profits because of it, letting Modelo take the lead, and quite simply, woke did make you go broke. Now you're the second best beer in America. And beer is everything in America, especially middle America, where the fat boys lie. So Modelo, which is considered a woke company because they tend to be more for the Latinx community, they took their profit share because they were catered to the working middle class, middle American market. Go figure. They didn't, even though they were woke, they knew what sell. They sell to the masses, sell to the working class, and you'll do just fine. And that's exactly what they did. And then you move on to companies such as, again, oh, sorry, that's not it. Companies such as, yes, Target, companies such as Disney, companies such as Starbucks, who decided to go woke, but Starbucks took a hit on that because they went too woke. They went way too woke. They promoted LGBTQ all year round, and they realized that it was taken away from their core audience, which were middle Americans who like drinking coffee. Go to Disney, where you go to Target, who their core audience were, well, literal, working class and middle class individuals who want cheap clothes, not clothes that cater towards LGBTQ idealistic children. That's a huge hot topic. They lost money because of it, and they had to go away from it. But the one company that actually rode through the storm because of, well, bad storytelling and bad marketing were Disney. Disney, even though it took some hits with some of their, lesser known films and some of their badly written scripts, however, were still in the moods of making a profit as long as they could tell a great story. Stories such as Black Panther. And if you tell a woke story such as Barbie, chances are you won't go broke. Chances are you will go never near broke. You will tend to make a profit. So it depends on the community. And number two, the woke community, the film industry is woke central. It is woke specific. So you will never lose money in a community that supports wokeness to the nth degree. But again, it's a minority of a community. But then again, nonetheless, people consume movies as long as it tells a great story. And if you have a great script, people tend to watch your audience. And they'll tend to go to the movie theaters, which are sorely lacking. However, Barbie's film sales were still going through the roof because, again, it was a great story that people wanted to see in theaters. So they made it an event. Once you make a movie an event, people will go see it in movie theaters. So that's where we stand right now, going on 3 minutes. Thank you very much for joining me in Talk Live. And in conclusion, does going woke make you go broke in certain industries? Yes. Yes, they do. In certain retail industries where you're catering to a more conservative audience, yes, it does. Absolutely does. However, if you're catering to a community which tends to be woke in and of itself, such as the film industry, you won't. So you have to consider your core audience. Is it as diverse as it seems? A lot of market testing has to be done. A lot of research has to be done before you can take that leap. But again, I leave it to the company to decide, especially during these near recessionary times. Thank you very much for joining me in Talk Live on IG and YouTube. It was okay actually. It was tend to be a long one, but no, it was about an hour and a half. So yeah, that was cool. All right, so we'll see if we can get a show in tomorrow. If not, then we will follow on next week. But definitely, I'm working on the shorts. I'm working on the shorts, especially with last show, which was quite explosive. And a very, very hot topic in and of itself with Keisha Chavez and Joe Smith. And yes, the choice of wife can mean the choice of life. I tell you what, mate, that was a hell of a show. A lot of participation there. But thank you very much for joining me to Talk Live tonight. It is near 11 o'clock. I'm going to chill out and watch some of these basketball games and have a sit down, lie down, and get myself some cardio. I need to get some cardio this week. So Thank you very much for joining me at Talk Talk live at IG and YouTube. Like, subscribe, comment. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. And we'll see you next time. Hope you have a great weekend if I don't see you. And good night from Toronto. Thank you very much for joining me at Talk Talk Live here on IG and YouTube. We're going to get out of here. And we are going to... I'm going to relax. I'm going to relax right now. Anyways, we turned off everything, and yeah, does woke make you go broke? As I've already said, it depends on the industry you're in, but if you're not catering to a more conservative audience, then it does make you go broke. So, and that's seen through Victoria's Secret, that's seen through Old Navy, that's seen through Starbucks, that's seen through Target, and not through Disney, because Disney tends to be more of a woke company in a woke environment. But again, mess around with things as they did with the Snow White campaign, and your core audience tends to be conservative in and of itself, well, that's where you're looking for trouble. But again, they can ride through a storm in any case because they have that